Welcome back. A part 2 episode. Part 1, we had Casey Aguilar-Gervase showing us a nice, very technically sound snatch. I think that was the overall consensus from that video, was that Casey was on point in that lift right there. Her clean, she has told me many times in the past, has some issues. We said last time it wasn't going to get trashy, it was going to get crashy. And I have a confession. I watched this video before we started. I know I always say I don't watch the videos before we start. I watched this one because I wanted to see it. And Casey, you cherry picked a good one here. Now, I've been doing 2 things since we last talked. Number 1 is I got my nails done. Look at those. Zoom in on those suckers. They look fantastic. And number 2 is I've been doing my research. Now, I've got my research pulled up on my laptop right here. A little bit of research about Christina Aguilera. So, Christina Aguilera, #1 single of all time, is not Genie in a Bottle. That one took me by surprise. Christina Aguilera's #1 single of all time was actually Lady Marmalade. Marmalade? Orange marmalade. Is that like one of those cultural things where it's like laid, lad, tomato? But that was her #1 single of all time. Jimmy thinks it was because it was in Moulin Rouge. Is that it? Yeah, Moulin Rouge. That was the movie. So that's actually her #1 single of all time. Number 2 thing that I found out about Christina Aguilera is that she is considered, quote, Wikipedia here, so take it for what it's worth. She is considered the voice of the generation. I don't know what generation, voice of a generation, but I would have to disagree. And I can think of 3 individuals who are more the voice of our generation. So if you're like 28 to 35 right now, our generation, more than Christina Aguilera. You ready? Jake, put their pictures up on the screen. Number 1 is Chief Keef. As you may have heard on Don't Like, Hate Being Sober, classic singles. That's more of a voice of a generation. He spoke to the people more than someone who sang Genie in a Bottle and Lady Marmalade. Chief Keef. They're talking about him in the barbershop. I don't know anything about him. Number 2 on our voice of the generations would be Donald Rumsfeld, as seen in the war on Iraq. Influenced our culture more than Christina Aguilera could ever hope to. And number 3, last but not least, slap chop and slapping sex workers, Vince from Slap Chop. I need a live fact check because I read on the internet once that Vince got arrested for abusing a lady of the evening. Jake, if you could put up a little, maybe like an article or maybe just like this didn't happen, this isn't true, but that's what I heard on the internet. So we're going to run with that. So, to recap, Christina Aguilera, some good singles, but nothing compared to the likes of Chief Keef, Donald Rumsfeld, Vince from Slap Chop. Now, let's get into today's video. It is a clean. I think that she told me that this was, forgive me, Casey, I think this was like a week or 2 weeks out from international meet. This is one of those sessions where if you've never been in Casey's shoes before, nerves are really high. You want to hit some high percentages, some big lifts so that you can carry momentum onto the platform. These are often sessions that don't feel or go super great. You're like really close to the taper. It's like your last heavy session, so you're still pretty beat up in terms of like the fitness and fatigue paradigm. Your fitness is super high, but your fatigue is very high. So while you're pushing the limits of what you can do in terms of percentages and what you've hit in the past, the lifts aren't going to feel super awesome just because your fatigue is so high. We'll be able to see that in Casey's reaction to this lift. One time all the way through, oh my, how could I forget? I almost forgot. We are coming to you live today from the eye of the storm. Hurricane, what the hell is this hurricane's name? Ian? Hurricane Ian has descended on our sleepy beach town of Melbourne, Florida. And our sponsor today, Yeti, would never let you down in a hurricane. The only quality, custom, laser engraved beverage holder we can go with that I would trust in a hurricane like Ian. Brought the two together there. Crossover. Yo, Yeti, send me some free shit. Maybe. All right, now we can actually get into the video. One time, all the way through, I even remembered to mute it this week. 95, 100, 102. I think this is a 102. All right. Get it, girl. You can see the reaction there. So this is kind of like what I was talking about with like the nerves. You're like, holy shit, I actually hit it, what I was supposed to hit for the day. You're like, I was nervous about that, but you made it happen. It's a good feeling after the lift is over. It's a terrible lift, or a terrible feeling as you set up for the lift. All right, let's look at our points of performance. I hope Jake's been editing that really sweet. If he hasn't, he's been letting you guys down. I'll let him know that you're not happy. All right, Casey, just like in the snatch, has a dynamic start in her clean. Super powerful athlete, not surprised. She's very experienced in terms of what she's doing here. Not someone that you're going to sit there as a coach and be like, no, switch over to a static start, switch over to a dynamic start. When she breaks the ground here, we don't see any issue with her hip position. So if she was dynamic starting and her hips were just shooting way up off the floor, we'd be like, all right, let's get it more like of a static, like solid, tight position off the floor so we don't lose that hip and knee position when you break the ground. She doesn't have that issue, so good to go. Now we can move it forward to the knee. So at the knee, watch the back ankle, watch the shoulders, watch the hips. Hips are in a good position. Back angle is exactly where we need it to be. Shoulders are on top of, in front of the bar slightly. Perfect position at the knee. As she crosses the knee, she actually does a better job, I think, in the clean than she does in the snatch of using her lats to watch her from this frame to this frame. Watch her use her lats to start to pull that bar in. So she does a very, very good job of keeping the bar close in the clean. You can see it essentially, it's kind of hard to see with the black tights, but you can essentially see that she rides this right up her thighs, possibly early with her contact point here, possibly early. So this is kind of this and this. You can make the argument that this or this, as I completely throw that video off. Where were we? So you can make the point that this or this are truly her power position. She's getting ready to extend vertically here, depending on how you define the power position. Is it where you first make contact with the body with the bar? Is it where you start to extend vertically? I would say my coaching preference would be to call this right here her power position. So heels are flat on the ground, bar is contacting the thighs. Mid-thigh range. Shoulders here are over the bar. I think they're kind of over the bar. They might still be a tiny bit in front of the bar, which is going to influence what we see next. So had she waited one more frame to kind of start to extend vertically, so getting her shoulders here where they're over the bar, on top of the bar, or slightly behind the bar, we would see that the bar wouldn't move out away from her. And it's very, very minor, but it does lead to a disconnect. So she has had issues in the past, and she's done a fantastic job of resolving this over the past couple of months, of getting disconnected with the bar, pulling, having the bar float in space, losing track of where it is, and rapidly descending under just to get then crashed on by the bar. This is actually a better lift than some of the other videos that she has sent me or showed me or used as a reference for getting crashed on the bar and needing to clean up her clean. Wow. Fix her clean. Clean up her clean. Sure, whatever. Go with whatever you want. So here's where we start to extend vertically. And you'll see what I mean here is that this bar, remember that we always want to see, so if she was wearing a t-shirt, would this bar grab t-shirt? It's kind of hard to tell. I would say from this point right here, if we had a true side angle, we would see that this is probably 2 inches out in front of the body, which makes it a lot harder to go through that third pull. So the third pull being where you've extended, you've hit that triple extension position, the bar is now floating through space. Now you're using the weight of the bar to pull yourself under and fixate. So that's that fixation efficiency, that third pillar of weightlifting that we always talk about. How high can you pull the bar? How much can you squat? Number 3, how quickly or efficiently can you fixate the bar? If the bar is out in front of you slightly, it's very hard to act on the bar and pull yourself under, which usually means that the bar is just floating through space for a longer period of time. You're orienting your body under something that's out in front of you a little bit that you don't truly have as like a fixing point. So you kind of lose track and you get crashed on more times than not. So Casey is actually very active through this. It just makes it a little bit harder than it needs to be, in my opinion, in terms of securing or fixating this bar. When that bar's out in front of you, you're pulling on a bar that's away from you a little bit instead of something that's right on your body. So we could keep it a little bit closer. Everything that followed would be that much easier. And she could really take advantage of her strengths in the lifts, which are going to be how well does she, or how high can she pull the bar? The answer for Casey being very strong is she can pull it very high. And how much can she squat, or what is her squat strength? Again, significantly above what she cleans. So with a little bit of a tweak in terms of fixating herself more efficiently under the bar, racking the bar a little better. So here you can kind of see this separation. It's small. It's very, very small in this lift. I've seen Casey have much more separation, but she's moving in a direction where she is getting a little bit more efficient. I mean, this is basically, if she puts the brakes on right here, this is almost a power clean. So being able to hit a high percentage clean like this as a power, or securing it in a power position, means that there's a lot of room left in the tank. There's a lot more juice to squeeze, to say, on Casey's clean. You can see if we just play it back, slow-mo, you can see it's a little bit of a crash. You can always watch if girls are wearing like a bun. You can see how severe the crash is by how much the bun shakes around. So really not too bad. Some people, when they get crashed on, they'll start to lose it forward if it's a bad crash. But overall, not terrible. Her stance is quite wide when she catches and stands up, which I think makes standing up cleans for her a little bit more challenging. I hadn't paid a lot of attention to Casey's front squat position, so I'd be interested to see how this stance right here, where she catches a clean, compares to her back squat, front squat. Remember that your body will self-orient in a front squat, back squat in terms of stance width to where you're probably going to be at your strongest or close to your strongest. So Casey, maybe you can answer me here. This right here, this stance, is that where you back squat, front squat? Is that where you feel the strongest? If not, we have to look at possibly making some changes to catch with your feet in a position that makes standing up the clean a little bit easier. Every unnecessary ounce of energy that you use standing up clean is something that you don't have left on the jerk. So if you're someone who really grinds through cleans just to then stand it up and miss the jerk, this might be something to look at. Preserving energy, saving some of that energy standing up the clean so the jerk is a lot easier. So she stands it up. I would venture to guess that this stance right here is probably closer to her back squat, front squat. People usually jerk in a position, or jerk with a width, stance, whatever you want to call it, that lines up with their front squat, back squat. So in the dip, she's got a really solid dip, like probably the best that we've reviewed so far on the series right here. Her dip is really, really, really good. She doesn't over dip. She dips to a point where she's comfortable, powerful, doesn't lose her chest forward. Just does a really good job of controlling the bar right here. This is something that if I was, any coach worth their salt would look at this and just be like, very good, nice dip. Doesn't over dip it. Now, one thing to pay attention to here is if we play this dip in full speed, you can kind of see it. Watch. Here we go. All right, bottom of the dip. Nice. When she converts to drive, because she dips a little fast, a little faster than I think that she should, she'd be a little bit more controlled, a little slower in the dip. Watch what happens with her elbows in the bar when she goes to convert to the drive. Good, good, good. Bottom of the dip, starts to drive. elbows drop, bar shifts forward. So she kind of loses this rack right here, this rack position. Watch the shoulders kind of collapse, elbows go down a little bit. What's going to happen is that when she goes to drive, because she's lost the bar forward a little bit, what's going to happen here is that the bar is going to finish out in front on her jerk. Bonk. So where do we want to catch jerks? Over the back half of the head, back 25% of the head. Ladies, if you've got or men, if you've got a bun in, try and catch it right over your bun. That's going to be the most secure position. Head position here is not through. You can tell she's very, very far forward. A side angle would most likely show that that front shin angle isn't vertical like we want to see. That vertical shin shows us a nice 50-50, 60-40 in favor of the front, split in weight distribution in the jerk. She's a little bit forward because the bar is a little bit forward, because when she went from her dip to her drive, the bar slipped a little bit forward. This stuff happens. For Casey, it doesn't matter it doesn't matter at this weight, because she can just take her arms, her shoulders, and push that back into position. So really what we want to see in this lockout position here, she's actually pretty good with her head. Head position a little bit further through, bar back a little bit more, so there's less strain on the shoulders. But overall, she puts it where it needs to be. She recovers. You can see even in her recovery, she's a little bit forward. She has to kind of gather herself a little bit when she goes to recover here. A little bit forward, but saves the day. Jake, quick zoom. This gentleman in the back right here. Is he stealing my swag? Is he stealing my style? Is that a mid-shin sock and some slides? Can I get, and what's the equivalent of like an Amber Alert? I forget what it's called. Can I get I think it's like an OPA or something like that out on this gentleman in the back right here has stole my swag. I need to let him know. It's my style, and you can't have it, sir. Casey, very solid lift. Send us one of your cleans where you get crashed on. We want to see that instead. We want to see the fun stuff, the painful stuff, the, ooh, I think she might have just died, the lifts of the past, rather than when you've improved your technique after months of trial and effort and things to be proud of in terms of improving your technique. We want to see the bad stuff. Take us back to the past. Maybe I'll post one of my crashy cleans as well. Guys, I hope you were able to look through this. I hope you're getting more attuned at seeing these things in slow motion in real time. And I hope that's carrying over to your own lifts and you're hitting your PRs. Guys, keep those videos coming. At Gifted Performance is the brand. At _Squatfather is the man behind the camera. Send me your videos. Snatch, clean, jerk, clean and jerk, deadlift, squat, bench. We'll take it all. We'll review it. We'll tell you how to get better, how to get stronger. And when you hit that PR, don't forget to tag us and say thank you. Hey, see you on the next one. In the meantime, in between times, and as always, stay gifted. Hurricane, whip it up. Wow.